Hey guys, and welcome in on this beautiful Tuesday evening to play Would You Rather Fantasy Football Edition. Tonight we're going to do running backs. So we're going to spin the wheel like we usually do. We'll get a pair of running backs. And then after we're done doing that, Would You Rather, we will take suggestions from our viewers on who they want to see us compare on the Would You Rather. So go ahead and get in that chat and list running backs that you want us to do a would you rather. And after we get through spinning the wheel and doing that one, we will choose one from the chat. All right, Kyle, you ready to get started on this?
Let's do it. Let's spin that wheel, brother.
The wheel of running backs. That's an official name, right? Until we make it the wheel of wide receivers or something?
Yeah, that works.
Okay, cool. All right, here we go. Let's see. First one is Chase Brown.
All right.
All right, so Chase Brown and I guess I don't really have to do a drum roll because the wheel's going to do it for me. Here we go. James Conner.
Okay.
So Chase Brown and James Conner is who we're going to play. Would you rather? All right, Kyle. Start out with Chase Brown. What do you think of this guy?
Well, I love Chase Brown, and I got to give a shout out to our guy, Wishlist. He actually called the breakout last year. I thought he was crazy, and he nailed it. And Chase Brown come out of nowhere, and he was. I saw on here earlier it said like he was the Bengals CMC basically, just doing everything. And I mean that's true. He's not the same talent as CMC, but I get the comparison. So yeah, I mean he had a great year last year. I'm not sure if I believe it's repeatable though,
Why is that?
because they went and signed Samaje Perine, and they're
Okay.
already talking about getting him involved more in the passing game. That's going to be a pretty good drop in volume and production for Brown. He had quite a few points off of that. So if they try to hamper that workload at all and let Perine go, then that could be a pretty good hit.
Yeah, here's what I'm thinking though is that he was already having to share with Zach Moss, right? And you could tell that he was obviously the better player, the better running back. And then when they finally decided to just give Chase Brown the ball, he started looking really good, right? So hopefully this year they kind of push Zach Moss to the side a little bit. Right now, on like sleeper, he's still listed as the number one running back there. Chase Brown being the backup. I feel like that's not anything to worry about. I think Chase Brown is the guy there. I feel like every time Samaje Perine goes somewhere, it's like this big deal of, oh, he's going to eat into touches and stuff. And he really doesn't. Like, he does every now and then. He'll get a few touches a game, and he'll do pretty good with them. But he's not taking volume. Now, do I think that the season might start off that way? Yes, because these coaches for the Bengals are kind of silly, right? They, for some reason, drag their feet on Brown or whatever, and giving him his opportunity to unleash. But all that being said, I feel like this is just going to be kind of like every other backfield where it's just a timeshare, right? Now, Brown, I think, is the main guy there, and he'll do the most with his touches. He'll be the most productive with his touches. He'll be the most explosive. He'll be the guy. But, of course, he's going to lose touches to Zach Moss and Samaje Perine. It's just the name of the game now with these backfields. So, I mean, that's just the future of fantasy for us, unfortunately.
Yeah, and with everything I said before, there is that caveat which you kind of touched on. Like you always get this kind of coach speak in the off season when it comes to, oh, we just signed Perine, so we want to talk him up. We want him to be involved. But how many times have you heard coaches say that and it never comes to fruition, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So I really think, like Tyler said here, like I really think Brown's still going to get his touches. He might lose a couple series a game, but like nothing that's going to significantly hamper his value. I don't think too much. So you have to think of it, kind of from both sides. Do you read into everything that the coach says and buy in, or do you read between the lines and look at Piron's history and then kind of make the determination for yourself whether you think he'll kind of, lose more work to Piron or not?
I
So,
just don't think P. Ryan demands. He just doesn't get the kind of volume that
no.
to actually threaten anybody's workload. So I'm not nervous about that. I'm just but I am a little bit nervous by the Bengals coaching staff just being a little bit cautious, I suppose you can say.
That's where it really comes in is with the Bengals coaches because, I mean, how many weeks did it take for them to get Moss out of Brown's way last year? They knew damn well going into the season that Brown should have been starting right out of the gate. They talked about it during the off season.
Yep.
We got to the regular season and Moss was still starting. So sometimes the coaches got to get out of their own way. And I don't think even if Piron starts the year with a decent workload, I don't think it'll stay that way once they see how much more effective Brown is with those types of touches.
I agree. All right, now before we move on to James Conner, I just want to point out that my shirt says "Jerry makes me drink."
Yep.
Coming straight off of the draft, I thought this was a pretty fair shirt to wear tonight. So right now it just says Jerry. I'm not celebrating Jerry. Jerry actually makes me drink. I in no way will.
Because I knew you wouldn't just have a Jerry shirt.
No, it's a tease. It's a Jerry makes me drink, and doesn't he make us all drink? So,
although,
yeah.
To be fair, this was, in my opinion, one of their better drafts in a while.
I agree. They did fairly well. Alrighty, let's go ahead and switch over to our number 2 running back here that we're comparing tonight, and that's James Conner. What are you thinking about James Conner this year, Kyle?
Dude, I've always been a big James Conner fan, even though he's traditionally been very injury prone. Last year, he stayed pretty healthy because we thought last year we would see some Trey Benson start, chipping away at that workload, and then James Conner stayed healthy, and we barely saw Trey Benson. At some point, that's not going to be the case. And James Conner is now 30 years old.
Yeah.
He's nearing that cliff. Probably already should have with his injury history. So I do think this year we finally start seeing that timeshare between these two. They just can't keep feeding James Conner these same types of workloads. And Trey Benson, he's got, a year under his belt now in the pros. Maybe he's more ready this year. Yeah. I love James Conner, but I think we see a significant fall off for him this year.
Yeah, I mean, James Conner, you mentioned it, age 30. Holy cow, for a running back, that's old. And this dude has been used, I'd say like a workhorse, but really, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years under his belt, but he's probably only played about 5 of them if you take away all the games he's missed from injury. Pretty injury prone in his history until last year. He's only getting older. I have a feeling that this year he probably doesn't stay healthy again. I think last year was actually an outlier. I mean, obviously, when you look at it, he was more healthy last year than any other season his entire career. So if he stays healthy, I see him holding off Benson quite a bit. I just don't see him staying healthy. But if he does, the upside there is tremendous. And I think if Kyler Murray also stays healthy, then I think Kyler Murray helps James Conner's running ability in there, right? I think I've said this almost every show we've ever done. I think a rushing quarterback helps the running back because it pauses those linebackers, right? So,
well, and Murray's already said this offseason he thought they should have ran him more last year.
Yes.
So Murray's going to run even more this year. That's dangerous.
Yeah, it's going to pause those linebackers a little bit more. Also, just looking at it, Conner also gets a pretty good amount of targets out of the backfield, which I really like. He's getting, anywhere from 3 to 5 targets a game in there, and that's pretty good. That's some easy points there. So I know we talk about Chase Brown getting those catches, but Conner's also getting a fairly decent amount. Not as much as Brown, but still doing pretty well there. So You have anything else to say on him before we go to a vote here?
No.
Okay. I am before we vote here. I'm gonna show this one really quick. Make sure you like the channel. For the audio podcast of this show, we do have a channel for just the podcast. If you just like listening instead of watching our ugly mugs, you can go follow our podcast channel over there and just listen to our silly voices instead. Alrighty. Fantasy Football Plus Network says Connor is a beast. Well, he says beat, but they're so close to Benson season. Yeah. So getting close to Benson, I do believe, and Benson had some nice shiny moments in there too. Alrighty, let's vote on this first. Would you rather here? Again, we're between. Brent said sometimes voices are better than faces. I do have a face for radio. I have a face for radio, but I also have a voice for nothing. So, a voice that I should keep to myself. But
we have voices for talking to ourselves in the shower. That's what we have.
Right, there you go. All right. So, number 1 for Chase Brown, number 2 for James Conner. We're going to do a redraft vote first, and then we'll do Dynasty. All righty? So, on the count of 3 here, we'll hold up a 1 or a 2. Ready? 1, 2, 3, show. Yes. Okay, so we've both gone with Chase Brown for redraft. Kyle, why'd you pick Chase Brown for redraft?
Well, I mean, it's everything we talked about, right? His main competition this year is going to be Zach Moss, who we beat out easily last year. P. Ryan, who's never been a career, large workload kind of guy. He's still going to put up numbers. He looked amazing last year. It's an easy choice for me here.
Yeah, I agree. I know he's not CMC, but I kind of thought the same thing last year. And the amount of passing work they were giving him and how explosive he was, I was like, he's kind of got that role, right? Where he's just catching a bunch of passes. I mean, he looked fantastic. I fell in love with Chase Brown last year. And again, like you said, shout out to Wishlist from our Sunday morning spilled coffee there. He called it. He knew it. He got him in all our Dynasty leagues. And I was like, this guy, okay, he's on crack. And then next thing you know is Chase Brown. Now I'm like, I want him, but I can't get him. So a little upset about that.
Meanwhile, I'm going to do a reverse shout out. The professor's over here trying to sell Zach Moss to everybody off the helicopter.
This is coming from the guy who just sold Ramondre Stevenson after the draft to a guy for a first rounder. Am I right?
Which hurts my soul. No, it wasn't for first rounders, for second rounders.
Either way, 2 second rounders. You're right.
It was the first 2 second rounders of the round.
That's true.
It hurts my heart because Stevenson's a Sooner, and I love him. But
yep,
that's for another episode.
Exactly. Alrighty. So now I think we've kind of given away though. You wanna vote on the Dynasty real quick?
I don't think we need to vote.
I don't think so either. I think we both know it's Chase Brown.
I think we can agree it's Chase Brown for everything we've already said, plus 5 years younger.
Yeah, the age difference is ridiculous. The tread left on Chase Brown's tires is tremendous. I mean, he's only 2 seasons in, as compared to 8 for James Conner. He's 5 years younger.
1 season as a workhorse, no major injuries to speak of. Yeah.
Oh no, he did get a major injury. He got it in the week of the finals at the goal line and screwed me over and lost my championship for me that I lost by 4 points. Yeah, so no, he had a major injury. It cost me big time. Just throwing that out there.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, Chase Brown kind of screwed me in the championship week. Whatever. I'm not bitter or anything.
How did the rest of your team, though? So, that's how championship weeks go.
I'm bitter. But, alrighty, let's check the chat really quick. So Chase Brown was our clear winner on Would You Rather, both redraft and Dynasty. I'm going to check the chat here, and let's see. We had other people also saying Brown. Everyone voting Brown in here. So that's big there, Brent, showing that. So, all right, guys, thanks for playing along there. If you have anyone you want to see us do a Would You Rather, we'll do one really quick with suggestions from the crowd here, the audience, whatever you're called here. If anyone wants to throw some names out there, I did see one earlier.
I've seen a couple with Javonte.
Yeah, I saw one that had Javonte and it says, what about Brown versus Javonte? But we just covered Brown, so I would like to do somebody else other than Brown.
While
But
we wait for a couple of options, I did want to touch on Grindberg's comment real quick about Todd Brooks.
okay,
I could see him maybe cutting into that workload in the future. Definitely not worried about it in a redraft this year. We know how rookie running backs generally go, and he's already starting out at fourth on the depth chart, so I'm not too worried about that this year. I could see him being built up to maybe eventually replace Brown, the way people just let them play out their rookie contracts and leave now. I could see that maybe being an issue, but I wouldn't be too worried about him beating out Brown, honestly.
yeah, I'm with you on that actually. I'm not worried about it this year. While we're waiting on some running backs to be put in the chat, guys, get in that chat, or we're gonna end up doing Brown versus Javonte. Kyle, can you move your microphone closer to your mouth? It's kind of echoey. It's not really. I don't think the microphone's picking you up that much. If you can get it closer to you, that would be good.
I was wondering if I had this set up right.
Oh yeah, that's getting way better already. So I'm gonna mute that while he's moving that around. Sorry guys, I know that's a little annoying, but the audio on that was not super great. All right, try now, Kyle.
How about now? Better?
Oh my gosh, it's night and day. Guys, thumbs up on this video if you like Kyle's audio much more now.
So I had to break this whole thing down to take to Nashville for the draft, and then we ended up not using it. So then when I came back and set it back up, I put my microphone here backwards so it wasn't turned to me right, and I didn't even realize it. So
oh my gosh, yeah, just don't touch it anymore because it makes a noise when you touch it. But your voice is just incredible. 180 there on the audio. We're not getting all the background noise. Brent appreciates it. I appreciate it.
Well,
yeah.
while we're waiting on players.
Brent said I just liked and subbed for the better audio. I love that. He's kidding. He was already subbed, obviously, but appreciate you for coming in here. Brent, throw some names out there. Who do you want us to do Would You Rather? Don't make me spin the wheel again. I'll do it. By golly, I'll spin the wheel and see who we Javonte. Let's go with Javonte. Let's stick with Javonte. Who should Javonte go up against in this Would You Rather? That's what I want to see. Is who are we going to put up against Javonte Williams? I'm going to take a drink while I wait on that. And then if we don't get it in 60 more seconds, if we don't get another name, then I'm spinning the wheel. And I'm not counting, so if I feel like it's been 60 seconds, then I'm just going with it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you did quarterbacks, Brent.
Yeah, not a running back only. Brent, we laid out the ground rules from the get-go. We have it listed up on the ticker on the screen. What in the world there? Come on now. But next week, we can do quarterbacks next week. I don't hate that idea. Or, actually, Brent, if you'll put it in, Pollard's a good one. Pollard Javonte, I love that. Okay, so that's what we'll do. But Brent, put the McCarthy and Penix in the comments of this video, and we'll come back and answer you at a later time there instead of the live show. We'll answer you in the comments for sure, I promise. Alrighty. Let's see. Let's do Pollard and Javonte Williams. Let me get that set up here, and we'll be ready to go. We'll go Javonte Williams. I hope I spelled that right. I'm not really sure. Tony Pollard's pretty easy though, so I got.
You don't know if you spelled Javonte right?
Right, Javonte is a bit tricky, but I think I got it. So I'm not super worried about it. All right, Kyle, which one do you want to start with? Do you want to start with Williams or do you want to start with Pollard?
It doesn't matter. Which one do you want me to start with?
Oh, let's have some fun since we are Cowboys fans. Let's start with Javonte, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we're going to do a Would You Rather between Javonte Williams and Tony Pollard, names from the viewers here. Let's start with Javonte Williams. Kyle, what do you think about Javonte this year?
So, the way the draft went for the Cowboys, I actually like Javonte a whole lot more now than I did going into the draft. I was certain that they were going to end up drafting, an early running back that was going to take over that starting job, but they didn't. What they did was they drafted Jaden Blue, who is kind of the perfect complementary back for a Javonte Williams as a, much faster, smaller type of guy. But Javonte's the starter there in that offense now. And behind that offensive line that we have, a lot of scoring opportunities there. I like that a lot. But then, you also have Jaden Blue, who could be that home run hitter in the passing game. I agree, Brent. Blue's going to be amazing. He's going to be the Pollard to Javonte's Zeke. Yeah, I know Javonte's not Zeke, but you see the dynamic I'm talking about there. I like Javonte a whole lot more now, knowing how that draft went.
Yeah, I think Javonte Williams has been written off too soon. I think he's still got quite a bit of talent. I think he's wildly underrated, and it's just kind of silly. Like, he got that major injury. When he came back, they worked him in very slowly. And, that's hard to kind of get back into a groove. Not only are you coming back off there, you have to get over it mentally, but then your coaches aren't letting you get over it mentally. And then you're just having to timeshare constantly, and you're like a 3-man rotation. I mean, what are you supposed to do there? So Javonte kind of getting second with the Cowboys has been really nice. I'm excited to see what that's like. I like Javonte Williams quite a bit. I liked him before he was with the Cowboys, so when we got him, I was pretty excited. I'm part of the team. Brent says, I do believe Javonte can reinvent himself. Yeah, he's a cheap buy. That's correct. And so we've got him. You've got Miles Sanders, who, fine, whatever. I mean, I'm not a big Miles Sanders fan. Maybe he'll be a little bit of a goal line back for us. I don't really know.
I think he'll be a pure backup.
Yeah,
third in the depth chart.
I could see Jaden Blue getting more playing time than Miles Sanders this year.
Yep.
Jaden Blue, I'm curious with his explosiveness, how the Cowboys are going to use him. I think it'll be really interesting. But I think he'll be used as more of a little scat back, tossing him the ball, because apparently he's really good at catching the ball and running with it. So a little bit of ball protection. But apparently Jaden Blue was their number 3 running back on their board. They had him as their number 3 running back, supposedly.
Because he doesn't fit with Javonte. I think the Cowboys believe in Javonte too.
I agree.
But I don't know, is this a hot take? I think Phil Maffa, who we drafted late in the draft, I think he could end up with more playing time than Miles Sanders.
I actually agree with that too. I think Miles Sanders is probably the 4th best running back on this team, and even that might be a little bit. Do we put Deuce Vaughn ahead of Miles Sanders? I mean, Miles Sanders just getting passed around. The Eagles didn't believe in him. He got a little bit more time with the Panthers there, but now we just kind of got him on the cheap. But I think Blue, and I also agree that Moffa's probably better. So all that being said, I like Javonte. I like the opportunity. I think he's a buy low, and I think you can get him late in drafts. Just great value in a draft for this guy, and I think you can buy him pretty cheap in Dynasty too.
Yeah, you can get him real cheap. If you bought him before the draft, you got him even cheaper. But, like you said, he had that year with that knee injury. The year after that's always rough coming back from those. Then last year, you can't mentally prepare when you don't know who's starting every week. Like too much rotation there with the running backs in Denver last year. None of them got in a groove, really. So, yeah, I just think new situation, new team, new offensive line, new lease on life. He's still young, too.
Yeah.
He's only 25 years old. Like, his career's far from over.
Absolutely.
Remember how much people were touting him coming out of college and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Sure, he had a knee injury, but, that didn't end his career.
But you would have thought it did.
You would have thought it did. You would have thought somebody Sean Payton took him out behind the barn and shot him.
Alrighty, let's move on to Tony Pollard. To contrast Javonte Williams here, Tony Pollard ended up taking over more of the backfield last year than I expected him to. I guess I didn't expect him to get that kind of workload or see that kind of experience or that kind of workload there. Geez, man, I need to sleep more. I can't even. That kind of success experience. No, that kind of success. It did help that Tajay Spears was out a lot with injuries. He missed quite a few games. That helped open up the production for Tony Pollard to kind of take over the backfield and keep a hold of that. I do think Tajay Spears eats into that more this year. I don't think Tony Pollard, if Spears stays healthy, I think that Pollard loses that volume some this year. Plus, there's just a lot of question marks around that offense. Are we convinced that Cam Ward starts as the quarterback over Levis
100%
in the game one?
Yep, 100%.
I think so too, and that makes me a little nervous having a rookie quarterback back there, but there is upside because he's mobile. And again, I think that helps running backs in my opinion. So, I like the backfield for both of these guys to have some success this year, but I think they're going to be splitting it more than we like, and it's going to be a real headache for fantasy owners.
Yeah, I agree. Before I give my assessment on Pollard, I want to give a shout out over here in the chat to the Rent app guys. They were in Nashville when we went out there for the draft. Great guys, great app. Definitely
great sponsor. Appreciate them for sponsoring.
Sponsor. Thank you guys. I had such a blast talking to you guys out there and everything. Definitely viewers, go check out the Rent app. It's amazing.
Yep. Yep.
So thank you guys thanks for stopping in too and saying hey.
Yeah, for sure.
So Pollard for me is kind of similar, not quite there yet, but similar to the James Conner situation we were talking about in the last part. Like,
yep,
he's getting a little bit older. The workloads are there, but Tajay Spears sitting in the wings. If he can stay healthy, which that was kind of a major ding on him coming out of college anyways, was the knee issues and could be a injury risk. But we saw that this year kind of manifest. Yep. But if he can stay healthy, he is a pretty significant risk to Pollard's workload because that kid's good. And so, to me, I think there's a lot more risk of Pollard losing work to Spears than like a Javonte losing work to a Blue or a Miles Sanders.
Agreed. No, I totally agree with that. I think Spears is a way bigger threat to that workload than Javonte has from any other running back in his backfield.
I love Spears. He looks amazing when he plays, when he's healthy.
Yeah, does really well. My question also is, which offense do you think will be in scoring position more often, Tennessee or Dallas?
Cowboys, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I think that Cowboys offense is going to be
as long as Dak
in
stays
scoring
healthy.
Position more too. So
as much as I don't believe in Dak as a Super Bowl winning quarterback, the offense can move the ball when he's on the field a whole lot better than when he's not. So as long as Dak stays healthy, we'll have a whole lot more scoring opportunities for those running backs.
I agree. So, okay. You want to go ahead and vote then really quick? Do you have anything else to say on either of them before we vote?
Nope.
Alrighty. We're going to vote 1 for Javonte or 2 for Pollard. And we're going to do redraft first. All right, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, let me get Pollard's name off of here so that it doesn't look like that we're actually
sort of biased out there.
Yeah, I don't want to bias any decisions here. Alrighty, on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
Okay, is our Cowboys bias showing, or what's going on here? No, I think we just talked about all of the points. That's kind of why I went straight to the vote here, because I feel like we were starting to talk on it, that they he has more of a workload. They'll be in scoring position more often, and they're working on their offensive line. They concentrated on the draft. I think that's really going to help. And as long as Dak stays healthy, it's hard to predict injuries. So we're relying on Dak staying healthy. But if we were voting for Pollard, we'd be relying on him to stay healthy. Maybe Tajay Spears getting hurt. So
Yeah.
it's really hard to predict. So in a perfectly healthy world, I'm definitely going with Williams over Pollard here.
I agree. And over in the chat, Joe can get the frick out of here with that number 2 vote.
What the frick? I don't think it's a bad vote. I understand where he's coming from, but especially like the recency bias, right? What have you done for me lately? Well, Pollard had a much better season than Williams has ever had.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're being completely honest, but I don't think Williams has been in the best situation ever. This could be a resurgence, kind of like we saw, and this might be a little too extreme, but you see Baker Mayfield not doing great. You finally get him on a team that's worth a damn, and all of a sudden he can produce. And this could be the same. This could be funny. I mean, the same thing could happen for Javonte. I mean, he can just get on the right team and just be relevant all of a sudden. I mean, honestly, Pollard didn't have much success with the Cowboys. He just wasn't that great, honestly. But
he wasn't the right kind of running back.
Yeah, I agree.
He's not a workhorse running back. That's why last year shocked me so much that he got that kind of workload and had that kind of success, because he just, I don't know, he doesn't feel like that type of running back to me. It's weird, but
no, I agree.
Here we are.
Rusty on our side there. Rusty knows what's up.
Rusty knows what's up.
Joe's drinking. No, he's sleep deprived. Joe's got a little baby at home, and he's lacking on sleep, so he's just not thinking straight. And it's okay. I don't blame him there. Been there, done that. So all the reasons we just named there, we're going with Javonte and redraft. All right, let's do for Dynasty. Let's vote for Dynasty then really quick. Okay?
Do we need to?
No. I mean, not really. We don't have to. I'm also going Javonte there. I'm assuming you're going to say.
100%. For everything we said, plus age, which I actually did already mention also, but it makes so much more sense to take the young guy with a chance behind this offensive line, with this team, with this offense, versus a guy 3 years older with a young buck coming up behind him that can take the workload from him. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. Javonte still got some tread on that tire, and so let's just hope that he can stay healthy and that offensive line produces. And if that's the case, then I definitely like the 25-year-old there. So with an established quarterback too. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so that concludes our Would You Rather. Let's hop over here to the chat really quick. We got a little time left on the clock. So how about doing a little Q&A there? If anyone's got some questions in the chat, we will get over to that. Let me see. Brent did have a question too, but let's go ahead. I'm scrolling all the way up to the top. The very first one is a very impatient BHS Cardinal who didn't want to wait till the end of our show to get questions answered, and I think it's been asked 8 times now. Would you rather have Caleb Johnson or Trayvon Henderson? Kyle, these are guys we were actually talking about earlier today. What are your thoughts on these guys?
I like both, and I like. Sorry, I probably just made noise on my mic.
Yeah.
I like the landing spots for both, but if picking between the two, I want Caleb Johnson because they're going to run the ball a whole lot more in Pittsburgh. And even though he's got a Jalen Warren there, I still think Trayvon Henderson, they're not going to maybe run the ball as much in New England, but also Ramondre Stevenson is not just going away. He's still going to be involved. They'll probably still try to get Gibson a little bit involved, but I like the landing spot for Caleb Johnson a whole lot better.
You know, Ramondre Stevenson, talking about underrated running backs. Um, I think people just write him off so quickly. Like, how many times last year were people like thinking Antonio Gibson was going to be the starter there over Madre Stevenson? How embarrassing! Like that
Well,
was even a talking point.
I still think Antonio Gibson's had a pretty raw deal in the league because when he was with Washington, anytime he got a chance to play or to start, or he was very efficient with the ball, but he never got the recognition for that. And then he ended up signing a backup deal in New England. I think he could have been a starter somewhere else. At this point, I don't know. Is it even worth trying anymore? Probably not. But I think he missed an opportunity, not trying to go and compete somewhere for a starting job instead of signing with New England. It's just my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes, he messed up there. I agree. I think
I
he was
mean,
rushed there, and now he's going to get pushed back to a number 3 role.
well, when he was with Washington, Wishley's going to hate me for this because I'm going to call him dumb, basically, because they had a receiver turned running back that they wouldn't throw the ball to.
Yeah, it's
Explain that
stupid.
to me. Explain that to me. I don't
You can't.
get it. So, and then I think his confidence was just down, so he just took the deal in New England that came along, which I think he could have started for a handful of teams last year,
Yep.
but it is what it is.
Um. So okay, so that kind of talks about them. Caleb Johnson, on the other hand, well, I know you kind of talked about it already, but being an Arthur Smith offense there just likes to run the ball. Um, and I know he's there with Jalen Warren. And guys, I don't know how many times we have to say this. This is just how these backfields are going to be now. It's going to be 2 running backs. We've seen the Lightning and Thunder there with the Lions. These other teams are looking at that going, yes, we're doing that too. But that's also why you get these running backs who are 30 years old and still running now. That was unheard of. When Peterson, Adrian Peterson was running at that age, everyone's like, oh my God, I can't believe he's doing that. And granted, he was a workhorse, so is Derrick Henry, so it is a little bit different. But you're going to see that more and more from guys like James Conner. There's no way James Conner at 30 should last this long, right? And you see Pollard, he's at 28, and we're like, yeah, he's going to keep going.
The one
Used
you
to they would,
mentioned that is a unicorn though is Derrick Henry.
yeah, but he's not
He's
human,
just
so that doesn't
he's
count.
just abnormal.
You're going to see these guys' careers prolonged because they're not being these workhorse running backs and just getting beat on. Now, what that does is it really screws up our fantasy teams. It
A
screws
lot.
up your league because everyone's got a ton of running backs, and it's hard to trade because everyone's comfortable because you essentially have just got full actual NFL running backs. They're just 1As and 1Bs, and it's just like it's a toss up of who's going to score the points that week, and so it's pretty annoying as a fantasy player. In real life, it's actually pretty smart of these teams to do. So that being said, Caleb Johnson, Jalen Warren, both going to get their workload, I think.
It's going to be the exact same thing we've been seeing with Najee there. He's
I
going
think
to get the
so.
Najee Harris workload, and he'll
Yep.
probably be better with it than Najee.
I think he'll be more efficient. Yes. I think he'll be more efficient.
I think it's pretty well documented I was not a Najee Harris fan, right?
You don't say. Now, do you think they're going to produce much with Mason Rudolph as their quarterback? You know what that tells me?
I think they could just fine because I've seen Mason play for them and he did all right. But I still think Rodgers ends up being there. He's just pulling a KD and taking forever to make a decision.
Well, either way, you know what they're both really good at?
Handing the ball off. Yep. You're right.
They're good at turning around and handing the ball off or
No.
turning around and tossing that pitch. That's what they're going to be doing in that offense, I think, a whole lot.
Yeah.
Which sucks for those wide receivers, but that's a whole nother episode.
I know. The Steelers go sign DK to pair up with Pickens, and then it's going to be running back season.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. But I like Caleb Johnson. If I'm picking between the two, I am also going with Caleb Johnson here.
Well, I think New England also, they went and signed Diggs. I feel like they drafted a receiver later. I can't remember now. But, they want to develop Drake May. So I think they're going to let him throw the ball around a little bit more than anybody that ends up in Pittsburgh with Arthur Smith.
Yeah. All right. I saw some others come in here that we can hit on really quick. Jalen Wright or Trey Benson.
Benson by a mile and a half.
Yeah, I agree there. I'm going with Benson there. And again, I think his time is coming up pretty quick. I think he's going to get his shot. But okay, now let's just stay in that backfield for a second. Jalen Wright, they also just drafted Ollie Gordon. Is Ollie Gordon
Jalen
any
Wright's
sort of threat to Jalen Wright?
Yeah, Jalen Wright's going to be third on the depth chart now.
Well, they also have Alexander Madison, but I mean he's not really a threat. I think Madison's mediocre, but
Madison will be fourth on the depth chart.
But is Ollie Gordon way overrated?
I wouldn't say way overrated. He's not a starting caliber NFL running back, but I think he's a nice 1-2. Like he's a nice change of pace back to what Devon Achane does. I feel like, and I feel like he can carry the load for a game a little bit. Like if Achane misses a game or two, I think you'll see a Gordon Wright kind of timeshare.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, I'm not worried about Jalen Wright, especially if Benson's your other option. Benson's an easy choice there.
I would agree with that. Speaking of Ollie Gordon, though, like, boy, you want to talk about coming back for another year to your university just biting you in the butt. He was drafted 179th. I mean, he would have been drafted maybe the
year before last.
Maybe day 2.
Yeah, I could see him being a day 2 pick if he had come out last year.
I mean, talk about a fall from grace. That the Cowboys just imploded last year. The Oklahoma State Cowboys.
The other Cowboys. Both Cowboys teams sucked butt last year.
Yeah, they both sucked. So let's not kid ourselves. But Oklahoma State was absolutely horrible. What, they won one game all year. Ollie Gordon had an atrocious season, and you could tell he was just deflated and dropped all the way to 179th in the draft. So that really sucks for him. But I think he landed in a pretty decent system for him. But he's just not starter worthy. He was going to be a backup wherever he went. So it just kind of is what it is. Just sucks for him, to kind of get that. But he's Canadian, so who really cares? Am I right, guys? Anyways, Tyler says, all my leagues where I had Connor, I drafted Benson for the possibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great get. I had a hard time anywhere I had Connor actually getting Benson because I think people were expecting Benson to take over more last year, and that didn't really happen. But I think it's coming soon.
Well, the problem was I think I did have Benson in one league. I didn't I had draft picks, but by the time the draft got around, he was hyped up enough. He was going higher than my draft pick was, so it just got screwed out of him basically. But
I'm going to read this one as, Canada. I don't know. How about you?
More like, Canada. I forgot you were even up there.
Oh, I feel like there could be so many. It could be like, Canada. I don't know. Hard to say how that one was supposed to come across,
Pretty sure that's how, Captain and Greinberg and Craze would say it.
Absolutely.
Canada.
Let's see if I have anyone else. I know let's see. Okay. Here we go. Lion Light. I am thinking I have a trade. I have Ladd. Someone is willing to give me Brian Thomas Jr. for Ladd and Aaron Jones. Jones, I think, is a non-factor in the deal. The question is, would you rather have Brian Thomas or Ladd?
I want Brian Thomas. But Jones on there is a hit if you're shallow at running back at all. But just between the receivers, I want Brian Thomas. I think he's got a lot more alpha wide receiver one in him than Ladd does. Ladd's going to be a career Wes Welker kind of. I don't know.
Oh, God forbid.
Well, I think he'll be better than that. Welker was good, but fantasy wise, he wasn't great. I could see Ladd being a poor man's Cup, but
I was thinking more like a cup, yeah.
BTJ, I think is gonna be more like a. I don't want to say JJ, but like up there in that top 10 range. I don't think Ladd will fall in that top 10 range for me, dynasty wise.
I think, first of all, they're both fantastic, but
They are.
I I think I'm with you in that I want Brian Thomas, and I say, well, he was a target monster last year. You would think Ladd was a target monster because he was, but Brian Thomas Jr. was even more. He had more targets there. So because Ladd is on more of a run first team, right? So they're running the ball more. They just reloaded at running back. They're hyped about their running back room. And now they also have Hunter. So I'm not sure that I'm nervous about his target share with Hunter there, because I think it maybe keeps him open more, right? And it's not like they didn't have Christian Kirk last year and who else? I mean, they have other wide receivers, of course. So I think I'm feeling fine there. Oh, Gabe Davis, maybe. So I feel fine about his target share moving forward. I think he has great rapport with Lawrence, and I think they just keep building on that. I think Lawrence takes a big step forward this year, and I think that team as a whole takes a step forward this year, offensively at least.
I agree.
So I'm going with Brian Thomas here. I don't love giving Aaron Jones there. I feel like that's a bit steep, considering how close Brian Thomas and Ladd are, because I feel like they're still pretty close. I feel like Aaron Jones is a pretty steep price there. But
I do agree with that. For me, BTJ and Ladd are pretty close, like within 4 or 5 spots of each other in my dynasty ranks, probably.
Yeah,
Aaron Jones, that is a lot to pay for that upgrade. But if you've got the depth, I've overpaid in trades plenty of times to get the guy I want. But it sounds like he's the one offering, so he's trying to oversell BTJ a bit.
Yeah, I think you might be able to get it a little bit cheaper than Aaron Jones, but I don't know your situation. So,
or if he wants Aaron Jones, just make him give you something else back.
Yeah, like another pick or something. Like even if it's just a 3rd round pick or something. Like get something back. Because if there's something I realized, we just finished up a rookie draft, and there are people there in the 3rd round where I'm like, man, I really would love to take a flyer on that player.
Dude, I just did a rookie draft in one of my leagues, 3 rounds, 12 teams, and it was just there was no waivers after the draft. It was just free for all. I picked up like 6 or 7 guys.
Yep.
Like
there's some good options out there this year. I feel like good options.
A lot of deep, good picks and flyers. There's not as many studs in this class, but there's a lot of potential down the road.
Yep. Thanks for sticking with us, Lion Light. Appreciate you. All right, Kyle. I think that wraps up our whole chat there. Let's wrap up the show.
Did we ever answer that QB question? We just answered receiver one.
Yeah, sure. We can do it. I told him to put it in the chat, but we could do it really quick.
Since we're
McCarthy
here.
or Penix?
I want McCarthy. I think he's a better quarterback, better weapons. Although London is nice. He's still got JJ, Addison, Hawk. Yeah, give me McCarthy.
I am also going with McCarthy here. That's pretty close. That's actually, I mean,
it is really close. It is really close.
It's a good question, but I think you're correct with I like the weapons that JJ has. I mean, he's just surrounded by huge talent. And that's. And here's the thing: they obviously have plenty of confidence in him. He's showing them something. They're freaking confident. So, okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sounds good to me.
they're extremely confident for sure.
I mean, I don't think Sam Howell's taking his job, so.
True.
All right. Well, on that note, now we'll wrap up unless something else came in. Oh, okay. He says Penix flashed at the end of last season so hard. Yeah, okay, yeah. Rusty says Skull. Yeah.
Oh, wait. Quick for Razorback, whatever. Brown versus Javonte. Brown. We never made it back to that.
Yeah, Brown for sure over
Brown, so wanted to hit that one real quick.
Yeah. Isaac Tesla sleeper, 4th round pick in Dynasty with more value than people know.
Yeah. I wasn't going to bring that up because I saw his conversation / argument with Dustin in chat earlier, and I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction, but he just got one up over Dustin. And so
So you're going to give it to him now. I like it. Yeah. All right, man, that's going to do it for us tonight on Would You Rather. I think we'll probably do another live one next week. That was a lot of fun to get back on here live. I miss doing lives with you people.
I miss the lives. It's a different format just for the off season. When we get back in season, we'll do the full hour of just Q&A with the chat like we do.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of do these so we can make some videos and then chat with you guys. So keep that in mind for next week, but I'm already looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Amber likes my shirt.
Amber didn't see the bottom of it before she said that.
I know, she does now. Yeah. It just looks like I'm like a Jerry fan over here, but really, it's just that Jerry makes me drink. So, which is true. I just got my tall boy over here. All right. That's going to do it for us tonight, guys. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next week.
See y'all.